Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Next Chapter, a podcast where we dive deep into real stories, transformation, resilience, and building a new legacy. So I'm your host, Luke Jones, and today's guest is Ben Gibbs, award-winning beer writer, sobriety advocate, and founder of the Sober Boozers Club. Ben's tried over 800 alcohol-free beers and runs an online community, and just last year released his book, The Sober Boozers Club, How to Drink Beer and Stay Sober. So today we're going to be talking about his journey, the rise of alcohol-free beer, and practical tips for anyone curious about life beyond booze. So Ben, what led you to going alcohol-free?
Well, I guess the long and short of it is I was an alcoholic, and it was kind of a give up booze now or end up as one of those people that you kind of take the piss out of in a pub at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. Even though actually I'm saying that I was at a pub today at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, but you know what I mean? That was the kind of, I was on a road and I didn't like where that road was heading, quite frankly. So that's what was kind of the trigger point for me, if you like.
Okay, so how long ago was this?
So that would have been, it was the 8th of January 2022 is my sobriety date. So that's 4 years? Yeah, it's 4 years, isn't it?
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Was there a turning point? So a rock bottom moment, or did it happen gradually?
So when I kind of talk about, when people say like, how did you do it? What did you change? What clicked? When I kind of give my story, it almost sounds like I'm being a little bit nonchalant because it was overnight. There was one evening that my entire social group were present for, where I'd kind of kicked off and done my usual tantrum, and everyone saw exactly what I was like when I was, in the depths of my alcoholism when it was at its worst. And the next day I woke up and just knew, right, that's it, never again. And it was as easy as that, really, just kind of knowing that I couldn't do it again, even though I kind of say it was that easy. I spent 6 months, maybe a year, trying to moderate and saying that I was going to sort it out and that, one day I'll be able to get back to drinking like a normal person does. But of course, when you're in that spiral of addiction, moderation doesn't exist. It's not something that's achievable. So in terms of how I got to becoming an alcoholic, I mean, that is a long winding road from working late shifts to a pretty traumatic divorce in my kind of mid-20s to then getting into a series of dangerous sort of scenarios revolving around drink and drugs, and actually having a wonderful time doing it, don't get me wrong, but then getting into a relationship during COVID. COVID in itself, that relationship was toxic for both of us. We were both terrible to each other, really. And I was certainly terrible to my closest friends because, I had a lot of anger and frustration and sadness and hurt inside me that the booze brought out and turned me into this just nasty, wretched person to be around. So then I say, I've contradicted myself, haven't I? I've said, oh yeah, I just stopped. But actually there was a whole period before then where I wish I could have stopped. But it was just after that one evening. And I don't know what it was that did it, because I don't know what it was, but it was so different that evening to any other evening that made me just go, yep, no, not again. And once that penny had dropped, that was it for me.
So you did try to moderate for a good 6 months, would you say? For me, it was a good couple of years, really. And then I just had that realization that I just couldn't do it, and it was better to cut it out altogether.
Yeah, I think if I'm honest with myself now, me at the time would have said I was trying to moderate. If I'm honest now, I was trying to excuse myself. Like I went to AA to prove to myself that I wasn't as bad as the people that were going to AA. And to say I was trying to moderate, I had the dream of moderation in my head. That wouldn't it be lovely to just be able to go for a pint? And just a pint. Whereas in reality, I don't see the point of that. I don't want to go, even now as a sober person, going to the pub for an alcohol-free pint. If we're staying just for one, I'm not interested. I'm there to drink volumes of liquid, quite frankly. So yeah, I was pretending to moderate for probably 6 months, and I was sure that I should be moderating for probably 18 months before that, you know.
Right. So you were sober curious. Did you dive into the science? Did you start looking? Were you influenced by other sober people online? Because for me and my sobriety journey, I was heavily influenced by people like yourself. To be honest, I remember I've been sober now for just over a year, and I
Amazing.
remember seeing your stuff in the early days, Ben. And I think we're quite blessed now to obviously have these alcohol-free options. I know it does trigger a lot of people, and we'll get back. We will get into that later on. Yeah, I think you can still go out and enjoy a pint and alcohol-free, right? And that's what you're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's congratulations first and foremost, like that year mark. Did you practice your like 1 year speech to yourself, like in your first week? Did you imagine what that would look like? Because I can
Yeah,
remember it in my head, and then when I actually got there, it was just very different. It just was like, oh, it's just another day, actually. But the build up, it was like, when I get to a year, you know, I'll say that was in week 1. I was thinking, yeah, 1 year in, I'll fucking show everyone.
yeah,
So.
yeah. It's that whole ego thing, isn't it? It's
Mhm.
yeah, you want to prove to yourself and other people and all your doubters that you can do it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and it's that constant battle in your head.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But yeah, so early on for me, so I set up my page, and you know, it's really it's crazy to me to hear people like yourself that are on a sober journey say like, oh yeah, you were one of the first people I came across online. Because like that just it doesn't feel like enough time has passed for that to be the case. You know, I set up my Instagram page maybe a couple of months in after kind of perusing the world of sober Instagram. And it was kind of generic meme pages to begin with, like brutal recovery. Remember, it was one, is it like drop the bottle, which isn't necessarily memes, but it's like, yeah, you can do it, little positive quotes and all of that business. And then I got into this kind of crowd of people that were all celebrating their sobriety in really beautiful and wonderful ways, but it was all very centered around like the pink clouds of sobriety and all
Yeah,
of the kind of, and for me, I think that is awesome. And what these people are doing is amazing, incredible, inspiring stuff. But I just wasn't there. You know, I was sober, and I don't want to say miserable because I wasn't miserable, but I was sober and I was wondering who the fuck I was
yeah,
without beer and without being in a local music scene, and all of these things that I had built my life around all of a sudden weren't accessible to me anymore. So what changed that for me was actually I started looking into alcohol-free beer, and there was a website I found at the time. It hasn't been updated for, to be honest, it probably hadn't been updated since before I got sober. I was probably looking back at a previous like content from it, and I think the website was called Free From. And there is an Instagram page that's attached to it, but they're really low profile, like a couple of hundred followers. And then the first proper account that I found that was posting regular updates on alcohol-free beer is a chap called Martin Dixon, and he runs Alcohol-Free World. And it was him that really made me sort of look and think, hang on, all of these beers. But, you know, I'd been dabbling in supermarket beers, and I thought, oh, Lucky Saint's brilliant.
yeah,
And I'd kind of found some craft beer. I'd bought like a Mash Gang box, all of this business, and was like, oh, okay, there's craft beer out there. And then I found Martin's page, and it was like, all of a sudden, and I've said this to him, that he was the man that really saved my life, because I don't know if I'd have carried on without making this realization that actually there's so much to alcohol-free beer that isn't just what's available in the supermarket. And it's not just a gimmick. There's a whole world of alcohol-free beer out there. And as we're saying now, I think I'm closer to 1,000 beers now. It's just wild. So yeah, that was early sobriety for me. It all changed when I found these alcohol-free beer accounts, and it was only really Martin that was doing it at the time.
Do you think you'd still be alcohol-free if you didn't have all these different alcohol-free options then?
No, in short, like I
Wow.
really don't. Um, So early sobriety, I got through my first month by going back to smoking a little bit of weed.
Mm.
I mean, there's some people that say, "Oh, that's not sober," but it's like I was an alcoholic. I didn't have a cannabis problem. I did in my 20s, but in my early 30s, cannabis wasn't an issue for me. So I did that for a month, and then was like, okay, that's enough of that now, because I could put that down whenever. That was just, it took the edge off. It was fine. But then, in terms of going forward, I still needed something in my hand to get out into social situations. And it was almost like, I think maybe if you took it away from me now, if all of a sudden we had some like backwards prohibition where alcohol-free beer became illegal, which, I mean, who knows where that's going to go with what is going on in the world at the moment. Alcohol-free beer, utter woke nonsense, all of that shite. But, you know, if we entered a world where that became a thing, I think I'd be fine. But I don't think I'd have got 6 months in without it.
Hmm. Yeah. What has surprised you so much after sampling all of those beers? And where do you get them all from as well? Because obviously I follow you on, because I go at Tesco's, I see the range is getting bigger. And that section of the shelves is definitely getting bigger. During dry January, we're in February now, that all the offers were on. I remember my wife ringing me from the supermarket and said, "God, you should see all the alcohol-free stuff. It's all on offer. This is the time, to go sober." Blah. I said, "It's dry January, Kate," and she was like, "Oh, I can't believe how cheap it all is." Anyway, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but where do you get them all from?
God, there's a plethora of places. I mean, I'm the kind of person that will go on, let's say, an adventure to find an alcohol-free beer. I mean, the last time I was in Wales, I was in Tenby, and I took a 60-minute round trip because I managed to find a place that had alcohol-free beer on tap. My partner was livid, but she stayed in the hotel, and I just went out on my own. And it was the saddest thing I've ever done. I drove like. It was actually 40 minutes each way. It was closer to. I did a 40-minute drive, went into this bar, sat, had a pint, drank it in like minutes, had another one, that was gone. I was probably in the pub for 15 minutes, and then drove back. Was like, hey, that was good. So I've got quite good at sourcing alcohol-free beer in terms of like venues and in terms of pubs around the country. That's just, I don't. It was kind of a sixth sense there. Like you see a pub and you kind of go, "Yep, that's going to be the one." And 9 times out of 10, I'm kind of right with that. And that's only through, trial and error and being disappointed so many times. In terms of where I buy them from, I'm very lucky now that a lot of breweries will kind of hook me up with beer, which is lovely. But there's beers that I will always buy as well. So we can be friends, a brewery that are just doing incredible things. I buy all of their beers directly from their website because it's like, no, I'm sure if I asked Sam, he would give me beer for free to review, but it's like, no. You can have you bow to no one,
Yeah.
And then beers from Europe. There's a brilliant company called I'm going to try and pronounce it. It's Under Nu Point Thief, which is under 0 ONP5. They have you covered in terms of beers from Europe. So Dutch beers, Belgian beers, German beers, Polish beers, they can hook you up with all of that, and they ship to the UK, which is fantastic. America, we haven't cracked, and that is getting even worse thanks to fucking tariffs. Because, I mean, what a brilliant idea those are. In the UK, obviously, bottle shops, my local bottle shop, Sturchley Wines and Spirits. If you're in the Birmingham area, he's got about 60 units on his shelf of just different craft beers. It's incredible. And then you've got your online retailers like the Alcohol Free Co., Alcohol Free Drinks Company, Dry Drinker, Wise Bartender, Trembling Madness do some really good stuff. So it's just, we're getting to the point now where everywhere that you would go to buy craft beer, you can get a pretty decent range of alcohol free as well. And obviously supermarkets as well. A lot of people think that I'll only drink real fancy, like bougie stuff. I'm in the supermarket every other day buying like a Lucky Saint or buying a Proper Job or a Guinness. They're my bread and butter. Those are the beers that I enjoy more than any because I can just sit and drink them. I don't have to talk about them, and I love what I do. I love talking about beer, but there's something really special about just sitting down and being like, this one's just for me,
Yeah. Yeah. It's having that relationship with it really. And for me, it's been so tough, obviously going sober. You've been stuck in those loops, those habit loops for decades, haven't you? And
Yeah.
just being able to go in, it doesn't feel the same in a pub when you're drinking a Diet Coke or a Diet Lemonade or a lime and soda. I went through a phase of drinking loads of lime and sodas, and I was like, this is just not doing it. And yeah, Guinness Zero for me has been, yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant. I absolutely love it. But I would love to try all these different beers that you've been trying, Ben, as well.
Yeah, there's just a whole world out there of amazing beer. I completely agree with you pub wise. I've said many times now, and it's a hill that I'll die on. If you give me like an orange juice in a pub, give me a balloon that says alcoholic on it, and I'll just stand in the corner and hold it so everyone can know. Do you know what I mean? Or you give me a beer, an alcohol-free beer in a Coca-Cola glass. Like, come on, what are you doing? It just doesn't feel right, does it? Because it's not right.
Yeah, exactly. Why has it changed so much though in recent years? And why is the industry booming, do you think, Ben?
So I think there's a few things. I think that the main thing is just the ability to do it. You know, like once that was cracked, and we're seeing all these incredible yeast. Use your words, Ben. All these incredible yeast strains hit the market that make alcohol-free brewing a lot easier. And I'll be honest, I think Jordan at Mash Gang had a lot to do with it. You know, it's no coincidence that Mash Gang started during COVID as a company, and the alcohol-free boom seemed to happen around that time as well. Like from COVID to now, the growth in it year on year has been wild. And Jordan, he went through a phase of just going from brewery to brewery to brewery, just doing collaboration beers with each brewer there, and just sharing that knowledge that he'd kind of learned for free. You know, I mean, I say for free with collaboration beers, yeah, sure, but just sharing that knowledge, it became a kind of an open secret, really. I think what Jordan did was phenomenal, really, for the industry. So I think, you know, brewing science is inevitably going to be the number one factor in it, because people are, you know, people aren't drinking as much as a whole. On average, you know, obviously there's people that are drinking more within certain age groups, and all of this, it changes all the time. But as a whole, people are drinking less, and there's so many reasons for that, like health awareness, like health trends, the internet existing, and people not wanting to make an ass of themselves because everything's going to be caught on video now. All of that sort of stuff adds to this kind of movement for people not wanting to drink. But actually, in terms of beer, if they couldn't brew it, it would be like, okay, we'll go and have your kombuchas then. That's fine. So I think the number one reason is genuinely the science and the brewers, and I'm going to say the artists behind these beers that have put the time into the craft to make it so good, because they are incredible now. Just 5 years ago, they were terrible, you know?
Yeah, just in the last 5 years since COVID, like you said, it really has changed. I remember drinking it back in the day and just thinking, oh my God, this is like piss water or whatever. But
Oh, yeah. Yeah, first glass of alcohol-free beer or first bottle of alcohol-free beer I ever had. I can remember it now. It was a Beck's Blue, and I'm sure it was in a kind of plastic-themed bottle. Like it was a bottle that was made of like real solid plastic. I'm sure of it, but I can't find any evidence of those bottles ever existing. So maybe I've just kind of wrote into my head that happened because it was so bad. But I can remember saying like, I'm never drinking an alcohol-free beer again. Like, fucking hell, who would drink that? Because it wasn't beer. It was horrific.
yeah. And people, we were saying before about Guinness Zero, people, I've been out drinking with people and they've drank some Zero and they haven't even known. I've heard of pubs here on the Isle of Man actually running out of Guinness and serving Guinness Zeros and people not having a clue.
That's genius. That's genius. But yeah, you're right, because it is. I think if you blind taste tested it with people, I mean, I was in a pub today. It was in a Bavum's pub. And I mean, Bavum's, if you're in the Midlands, you'll know that Bavum's beer is the best beer in the world. They've just released an alcohol-free. In fact, it's literally what I've got in my hand right now, a Bavum's alcohol-free. I cleared them out of what they had in this pub. And I
Right.
kind of got chatting to these old boys in there. It's Bavon's pubs are, heart of the, they're real hearty places.
Yeah.
And this chap was, oh, I've had a Guinness Zero, and it just tastes like water. And my head was like, you're lying to yourself, mate. You're lying to yourself. If someone had poured you that up and told you it was just a Guinness, you wouldn't know, because it's so damn close. It just is. That liquid is as identical as you can get. It might be a little bit sweeter if we're being really, really anal about things, but there's a reason everyone goes on about Guinness Zero. It's because they have just done a bloody good job of it.
Yeah. And the sponsors as well. It's
Yeah.
everywhere, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I was watching the rugby union, the Six Nations on the weekend, and saying to my wife, I was like, it's just everywhere now. If it's not Heineken Zero, it's Guinness Zero. And yeah, it just shows how big the industry is now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you've got Athletic doing things with the football as well. I think Athletic will be I think Athletic are going to do quite well in the UK over the next couple of years. Personally, they're for anyone that doesn't know Athletic, they're the biggest alcohol-free brewery in the world, but primarily American. And the beers that they do in America, I've been able to try one American brew, and it was a black IPA. It was incredible. The beers they bring to the UK are crap. Well, no, that's not fair. That's not fair. Come on, let's take it back a little bit. They're mid. They're mid. And then recently they brought one new one over that was like, oh, that's really damn good, actually. And I have heard wind that they are expanding their UK operations, so I think they're ones to watch out for in the UK, Athletic. But yeah, they're all over the football as well.
Cool, cool. The biggest myths, would you say, then, Ben? What are they around alcohol-free beer?
The number one for me that I get every single time is that it's still got alcohol in it because it's 0.5%.
Yeah, this was going to be one of my questions, actually, about the
Yeah.
bananas and the fruits and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff as
It's
well.
just, and I mean, I understand it because, so I'm going to take another stance on it. For me, when I first got sober, I was drinking 0.5% beer because I thought it would just take the edge off any withdrawals.
Yeah.
Like I started to get like shakes a little bit, and if you're drinking really heavily, obviously you shouldn't go cold turkey. I wasn't drinking heavily consistently. I was more of a binge drinker, so it was kind of fine for health reasons for me to do that. But I thought, oh, it's okay. It will take any edge off if it's 0.5%. It's got a bit of booze in it. So I completely understand why people say, oh, but hasn't it got alcohol in it? But my God, does it annoy me that it's not just common knowledge, or that people aren't made aware of it, or that more people aren't shouting about it, because obviously, I mean, you know what I'm going to say, 0.5%, same strength and ABV as a banana. Orange juices can be 1%, bread can be 1.2%, soy sauce can be 0.7%. It's just like alcohol exists naturally in things. Anything fermented has a little bit of booze in it, but your body's going to metabolize that quicker than it takes to affect your brain. So I could drink 50 alcohol-free beers and I'd drown before I got drunk. It's scientifically impossible. So that is the biggest myth, I would say. Other hard-hitting ones are, it's not real beer. And it's like, okay, come to a brewery and watch how it's made then, and then tell me it's not real, because it's made in exactly the same way. If anything, there's more processes to it. With a lot of it, I mean, I would argue that some alcohol-free beer isn't real beer if they don't ferment, but there's not many brands that really do that because it tastes bad. So yeah, that's another big one. And just for one, that it all tastes rubbish and it all tastes the same, because that's nonsense, because it doesn't all taste rubbish.
The wine as well,
Yeah.
Ben. Do you know much about wine? I know you're a beer connoisseur, obviously, but do you know anything about wine? Because I've been trying different alcohol-free wines, me and my wife, and we've never really got on very well with it. What would you say about that?
So wine is an interesting one and a difficult one, because I think wine now, alcohol-free wine, is probably where beer was at 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, if we're being fair and honest, because there are some very good ones out there, but my God, do you have to sift through a lot of poor quality liquid to get to the good ones. I am very interested in where kind of sparkling teas can go going forwards. I've had some really interesting sparkling teas. Actually, in terms of wine, and I'm going to be so cliche now and bring it back to beer, because a brewery called Cloudwater, they released a beer called Red, and that was like a wild ferment. So kind of a sour beer, if you like. So that's a wild beer. Is a sour. That's what you'll know them as, kind of primarily. And they released that with a blend of different berries to kind of have that similar vibe that red wine has. And actually, what was coming through, you were getting like subtle tannins and little hits of wine. And when you drank it and you thought of it as a wine, it was like, okay, this is really interesting. So actually, I think wild fermented beers could really, really bridge that gap between wine and alcohol-free. Having said that, I've had some really good alcohol-free wine from Germany.
Okay.
Like really, really good alcohol-free wine. There was Carl Jung wines, really, really good. Then there was one, gosh, I'm going back now. They don't do it anymore, but they used to do it in Sainsbury's. What was it bloody called? Naturio. That was it, Naturio. That was very good. But again, it's just not the same, and I don't know why. I don't know enough about wine to kind of explain the tannins and dry to medium to full bodied, all of that business, you know. But I think they're getting there. There's a lot of people talking about wine at the moment, and alcohol-free wine. So I think it is on the up, and it'll be interesting to see where we are in another sort of 2 or 3 years in that category.
Yeah, because I really do miss that steak and red wine, to be honest, Ben. And I was saying to my wife the other night, we used to drink a lot. I always love to drink lots of red wine on a Sunday, and red wine with chocolate, it goes really, really well as well. So that is one thing that I have definitely missed over the last year or so. We've tried quite a few different ones. I know they're only ones from the supermarket, but they've never hit hit that same sweet spot.
Yeah,
Like,
even if
the
I have a
Guinness.
good wine, I find that I'll open it and I'll drink it and be like, fucking hell, that's really good. But I'll have a glass and then I won't come back to it for a week. So it's that kind of drink, repeat cycle has kind
Yeah.
of gone for me. But I'm the same with whiskey. Bloody miss a whiskey. Neat whiskey. Like that was a special occasion thing for me, but I loved it. And I'd never drink whiskey to get drunk on because I was far smarter than that. You know, I'd drink cheap lager to get drunk on. But I've found really good whiskey that you can, is to be mixed with a mixer, but to drink it neat, there's not one to date that I've had that I've really enjoyed. So I do miss that.
The placebo effect then, Ben.
Mhm.
I remember drinking my first, I think it was a Heineken Zero, which I know that you're not a big fan of, but I remember drinking it in the pub here in the Isle of Man, and I remember getting the same sort of dopamine effect. I don't know whether it was because I was with friends in the pub, whether because it was the atmosphere, and I thought, oh my God, I'm actually getting something from this. Is that placebo effect, is that real when you're drinking AF beers?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, just to touch on the Heineken quickly, first beer I posted about was Heineken Zero. And, you know, if Heineken Zero, I will get back to your question in a second. I'm going to just
Yeah, no worries.
attack Heineken and defend them at the same time quickly. Heineken Zero, I have said it's the most dangerous drink in the world, and I think it is now. Because actually what they had was a very good product when it first came out, because it was the best of a bad bunch. And it was really solid. They haven't improved that recipe at all. And it's going to be a lot of people's first kind of foray into the world of alcohol-free beer. And they're going to drink that and go, oh, no, that's not beer. And then they're going to move on to, you know, potentially further down the road into addiction. I'm not saying that's everybody, because, you know, not everybody that drinks alcohol is an alcoholic. But even if it's one, that's one too many. So I think Heineken could do better. And I think they will, if I'm honest. I think that they've got fruit beers are going to be coming very soon from Heineken and Peroni, and I think that's that will probably be where they take things. Placebo effect, which was the question before I was triggered by Heineken. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember walking back to my car after my first pint, like from a tap of alcohol-free beer, and my legs were a little bit shaky, and I was like, "Oh, this is strange." And it's all, placebo's a very real thing, and with alcohol-free beer, and let's just say with beer in particular, because if you've trained your brain to socialize through alcohol, you know, anything from the weight of this glass that I'm holding here, I can tell that that's a half pint of beer in that glass. That is immediately sending those triggers to my brain, release a little bit of dopamine, because okay, we're drinking a beer, I can smell the beer, even Heineken smells a little bit like beer. The sudsy head of carbonation, even the sound of a can opening, you associate that with pleasure, you associate that with reward, so you get a little dopamine hit. And that little dopamine hit, that's enough to get you giddy. That's enough to get you feeling, oh my goodness, what is going on here? And then you notice it and you think, shit, I'm feeling a bit buzzed. And then it feels naughty. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, I shouldn't feel buzzed, but I do. And then you get a third wave of being like, how fucking awesome is this? I'm in a pub with all my friends drinking a fucking beer. Like, so it's not 3 stages of grief. There's more than 3 stages of grief, but it's 3 stages of, like, your brain is anticipating pleasure. Then you notice that pleasure and you acknowledge it and you accept it and you go, yeah, man. And then you reflect on where you actually are and how you can still feel so overcome with joy. And it sounds small, but it is a joyous thing. For people that just want to live a normal life without booze, being able to go to the pub is massive. So yeah, that placebo effect is absolutely real with alcohol-free beer.
And there's no feeling like leaving that pub, I don't think, thinking that, you can remember what you're doing, you're going to go home, you're going to sleep well, you're going to get up the next day, you're going to do the thing, whatever you want to do that next day, you're going to be productive, etc. Yeah, and that placebo effect, it carries on and on. I was away with friends on holiday just last week, and I was talking to my brother about drinking. He's just he's becoming sober curious and drinking more and more alcohol-free stuff, and he was saying he can't believe how good he feels when he's drinking it. Uh, that placebo effect is so real, and I've had many arguments with people about it, but I think to truly experience it, you've got to do it yourself and do it properly as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's if you're drinking for the joy of a beer, it's no different really. Because I always say this to people, I'm like, oh, what's the point? Why would I drink a beer without booze? And it was, well, why are you drinking beer? Just drink vodka. It'll get you there quicker. If you're only drinking because of booze, why are you drinking beer? You're drinking beer because you enjoy the taste of it. That's what I'm doing. I'm drinking beer because I like the taste of it. It's just not going to get me fucked up. And that's fine, isn't it?
It's such a good point. And having drank for so many years, you develop that taste to think, you develop that taste. And like you said, with the placebo effect, when you smell it, the, it's the whole thing, it's the whole experience. It gets the endorphins going. It reminds you of, all those social events you've been to, whatever that might be. And yeah, it's such a good thing. And I know it gets a lot of bad rap from people who are triggered, for, people who might drink alcohol-free stuff and then slip back in. But I think it's been so big for me, and many of the people that I coach and people that I speak to or suffer with addiction, suffer with being an alcoholic. It is an absolute godsend because they can still socialize, because that is such a big thing. People think that they can't go to the pub, they can't go out with their mates. Of course, they don't want to be sat there with that Diet Coke. They can feel, we're tribal. I always say that we're tribal creatures. And if we can feel like we're part of the pack, part of the group of people that we're with alcohol free. And just recently, I was at a Christmas do for the company I work for, and I was there drinking my Guinness Zeros out of a Guinness glass, and people didn't know. And people said the next day, God, you seemed okay. You were really with it. You were dancing on the table. And I was like, I wasn't even drinking. They're like, what? You sneaky, seriously? What?
Yeah.
They, they couldn't believe it. And yeah, you can sort of go under the radar, and then you can drive home. And like I said, you can have a great weekend as well. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the main thing, isn't it? It's just you can live the life that you did live if you want to. You just don't have to be the person that is, crawling home at 6 in the morning and then not remembering how you got in, or the one that's like shaking in bed until 3 o'clock the next afternoon, just dreading looking at their phone to see what happened. So when you actually look at what alcohol was doing for you, and obviously it's not the case for everybody because some people can have a healthy relationship with alcohol, but if your relationship with alcohol is damaging,
Mm.
but you're not triggered by the ritual of going to a pub, which I count my lucky stars that wasn't a trigger for me, because it never has been. I've never associated beer with booze or alcohol-free beer with booze. It's always been very different things for me, which, as I say, I'm very lucky for. But you can absolutely live how you used to, just without the negative effects of alcohol, and it is magic. It really is magic.
Definitely, it is magic. What are your top 3 alcohol-free beers, Ben?
Let's do top 3 supermarket, because those are ones that people can go
Yeah,
and instantly get for themselves. Proper Job, I think, is the best supermarket beer.
yeah.
I think that is a fantastic beer from St. Austell Brewery in Cornwall.
In Cornwall, yeah, that's right.
Kind of ticks that box. It's an IPA, but it kind of ticks that bitter, like real ale box almost. It's got a lovely amount of bitterness there to it. And it's just a really well-rounded, like smashable drink. I think it's fantastic. Then it's got to be Guinness, but that's a cliche. So let's throw Guinness in there as an obvious choice. And
Yeah.
I'll give you 2 more good supermarket beers because Guinness feels like it's cheating. Lucky Saints wheat beer is very, very good. At the moment, as of February 2026, it's only available in Sainsbury's. I'm hoping it will be available everywhere else very soon because it's a fantastic wheat beer, in my opinion. If you're going for the Lucky Saint Lager, get the bottle, don't get the can. That would be my top tip, because the
That's
bottle is
interesting.
genuinely nicer. That's not just a placebo thing. It just is nicer for reasons that I'm not actually allowed to go into. But get the bottle. Get the bottle. I
Yeah.
mean, the can is fine. I will say the can. It's not going to hurt you. It's a perfectly fine, drinkable beer. Just the lager tastes a little bit nicer, shall we say?
Okay. Yeah, I've had it out of the can. I haven't had it out of the bottle. So yeah, I've made a note of that. I'll try
Yeah,
that.
the bottle is really good. Really, really good. I'll tell you afterwards. And then where should we go? Let's do a lager. I think lager Estrella Damm is pretty solid. It's a pretty
Yeah.
solid choice. Nice can size. Get in a multi-pack. It's nice and cheap, and you can just smash a load of them, and that's very good. So yeah, those would be my 3 supermarket lagers and Guinness. No, supermarket beers rather, and Guinness.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember. Yeah, that Estrella. That's the Spanish one, red can. Is that right?
Yeah.
Estrella. Yeah. Yeah. I had that. I had that because it was on offer during dry January, and it's lovely.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really good. Really, like, no complaints with it. Really easy to drink. And it's just like, yeah, brilliant. Like, I've always got that in my fridge, Estrella. I think it's just, I can just sit and drink all 4 of them in an evening and be like, yep, nice. That was fine.
Have you got any tips, Ben, for the listeners who are nervous about socializing sober, like we've been talking about just now? Any tips?
I would say if you're feeling anxious about it, just let your mates know. Okay, this is my situation. And if they're good mates, then they will listen. It's no. What I've realised is that after 10 o'clock, nobody gives a shit if you go home.
Yeah.
Because if you're going out with people that are drinking booze, as I do, if I'm leaving at 10 o'clock, they do not care at that point. And they might in the moment, and they might be like, oh, no, Don't leave. They don't actually give a shit because they're already on that journey, but I can't follow them down. You know, they're on that path that I can't go down. So having an escape plan is wonderful. I drive everywhere because, one, I'm cheaper than a taxi for my mates. Two, it's just, I've got my car. If I want to go, I can go. And that's fine. And it sincerely is fine. Like now, when I get back at 10 o'clock from being at the pub, 11 o'clock, I'm actually like, oh, sweet. I've got the rest of my night now. Like, I could still go to bed at 2 in the morning if I want, but I can just do what I actually want to do. I don't have to watch that mist descend on people and see the chaos of the streets of wherever I might be after 11 o'clock, because things just get a bit weird. Like, it's fascinating, isn't it, when you're out and you're sober and you look around, you're like, this is wild. This is absolutely wild. I mean, and I'm somebody that, you know, I've never been with my friends that are drunk, and I've never thought, like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not you. Because I think booze is actually, if it's good for people, and if people can drink it in a healthy way, I think it's awesome. You know, I think that's what kind of separates me from a lot of the sober commentators, if you like, is that whilst I'll accept I would have died, you know, if I'd have kept going, and there are other people that if they keep drinking, they'll be in the same situation. And they need a voice that is there for them to say, like, do you know what? Drinking booze, taking loads of drugs, that was fucking fantastic. But we can't do that anymore. So here's what we can do and still have a fucking great time. So I would just say, just go do the thing. Go and do the thing. Go to the pub. Try all these things if it's safe for you to do so. See how many alcohol-free beers you can find. Turn it into a bit of a game, you know. And if it's too much, you can just fuck off and no one cares. No one's going to judge you, only yourself. Only yourself. And over time, you will be more gentle with yourself, and you will get used to, you know, having a little bit of a quieter social life, because it, you know, I still get it sometimes. I'm sat at home watching the telly and I'm like, God, I used to be so cool. And that goes away within like half an hour, where it's like, no, you didn't used to be really cool, Ben. You used to walk around Digbuff in a fucking glittery mesh top with velvet flare trousers and a bleeding lip, and you'd have no idea who it was that punched you, you know. That wasn't cool. It's the rose tint, and that will never leave, will it?
No, that's it. It's the rose-tinted glasses, like you just said. And it's that whole illusion thing with alcohol, you know, that little voice in the back of our head, you know, it's like, oh, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. But in reality, it is nothing like that. And yeah, we always look back, don't we? And we always remember all the good times. But if we really play the tape forward, we all know where this is going to end.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, for all of my kind of, let's say, like, pro-alcohol talk, or for all of my rose tint and being like, no, it was fantastic. I had a great time while I drank. I still had to get sober. You know, and if something's that good, you don't have to stop it because it's going to kill you. You know, so and that is where I was heading over time. So, you know, it's, for me, it wasn't safe to do so, and it's how I know I'm an alcoholic still. Is that I can sincerely tell you now, I could have a pint of full fat beer and I'd be fine. That's how I know I'm an alcoholic. Because I'm convinced of that. And that's why I'm never going to do it. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird concept to explain to people, is that, and I really do mean it, I believe I could drink a pint of full fat beer, full alcohol beer, and be fine. And the fact that I know that just solidifies to me that I'm definitely still an alcoholic. You know?
You've still got it in you to give it a go again, definitely. You've got that little voice in your head still.
Yeah, well, just the voice was like, you would be fine, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, fuck off. Yeah, I know I would, but I don't want to. You know, there's a voice that's like, there's that voice that is there being like, you know, anytime you wanted to drink booze, you'd be fine to now. You know, that's the best way to kind of explain it, is just that reassuring voice that's like, if you wanted to drink, you could. And then you've got me, you know, 4 years sober, saying, yeah, I know that, but I'm not going to, so just fuck off. All right? And it's that voice trying to remind me, but occasionally I go, I know, I see what you're trying to do, you sneaky bastard. You're trying to get me to drink boozy.
So what inspired you to write the book then, Ben, The Sober Boozers Club?
So it was really just I realised one day that I drank all these beers and I'd put footage of it all on social media.
Mm.
And, the beers go up on Instagram and then they get deleted from my phone because I'm constantly chasing storage space. And then I was like, I had a horrible thought one day. It was, what happens if that Instagram account just like goes? Or what happens if Instagram disappears forever? That's like my whole body of work just gone. And then I thought, oh, maybe I should document them all, put them all into a spreadsheet or something. And then I thought, no, that's really, really boring. Well, I don't want to sit and do that. I know that I'd do 10 beers and then be like, no, I'm sick of it. And that kind of trail of thought got me down to being like, oh, I should write about something, or I should. And then I was thinking, do you know what? There's not actually a book out there just about alcohol-free beer. And it was like, well, maybe there needs to be one. And once that seed had been planted, it was like, well, I'm going to have to do it now, aren't I? And it started as just, I'm just going to do it for myself. And then it was like, do you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just throw it out. And I mean, I'm no writer. I'm not brilliant with words. I stumbled upon this medium just through sheer dumb luck. When I say luck, I was lucky enough to be a horrible alcoholic that had to get sober. But I've been very lucky with the timing of it all. It's kind of, the cards just fell very well for me in that way, that I was kind of the first person to be talking about it in video form consistently, and then became the first person to write a book about it. And I'm sure there will be books that follow that will be far superior. But it's just nice for me to be like, you know what, that's out there. It's a little piece of me and my kind of journey into this that is just there now, in hard print. And it kind of, it felt special for me, if I'm honest. It was one of the few things that I've done for myself, really, that book.
How do you enjoy beer properly in terms of rituals, food pairings and stuff like that then, Ben? Is there any recommendations that you've got for
So,
that?
for me, glassware is king with a beer. Like, I have, in all my time drinking alcohol-free beer, I've only ever had one taste good drank straight from the can. And that was a can of it was a lukewarm mash gang beer that was brewed to be essentially a kind of akin to a American, like, smashable lager, like a light beer, American light beer. And it tasted so, like, visceral out the can, because it was kind of shelf warm, and it just had all of that horribleness of a real cheap smashable beer. Like, it took me back to my sitting on the sofa with smoking a fag, trying to remember which can the ashtray was. It was that sort of visceral feeling, but was like, oh, that's nostalgia, like how you have festival nostalgia, even though the toilets are fucking grim. It was that sort of beer. But if you want to enjoy it properly, if you're not weird, glassware, really important. And just, give it time. Always keep them in the fridge. Never keep an alcohol-free beer out of the fridge, because they do not do well out of the fridge. Like that, you've got to treat them differently to full-strength beer, because it's alcohol is really good at preserving a beer. Alcohol-free, it needs a fridge. Like,
Oh, wow.
as a
Okay.
rule,
That's
I
really
would say,
interesting.
unless it's been pasteurized. But UK breweries don't have to tell you if they pasteurize or not, so always assume it hasn't been, and then you can't go wrong. You won't get any exploding cans then. So yeah, keep it in the fridge. Pick just the nicest glass for you, and make it that important. I'm going to pour this up. I'm going to enjoy it, and just take the time, have a look at it. Notice the color. What am I seeing there? How thick is the head? How dense is the head? Look at the bubbles. Are they small bubbles? Are they big bubbles? Is the head dispersing quite quickly? Get to know the beer. Give it a sniff. Give it a swig, and just enjoy. So I would say, but making it that ritual, picking out a glass, and don't just drink from the same glass every night, mix it up. That's how it becomes. It's not just, I'm just going to grab a drink. It's like, no, I'm going to go and do something for myself now. Because that's how important beer is. People that love beer, I mean, it's not that important for everybody. My dad, he loves a bloody Carling. He doesn't care if it's in a Strongbow glass. He just loves a Carling. And that's fine. That is fine. Other people out there will go to every single brewery in every city that they ever visit, and will really, really obsess over it. If you want to be that person, you can be that person with alcohol-free beer. And food pairings, it's exactly the same as standard beer, you know, but alcohol-free actually has the benefit of it not burning away all of that flavour with ethanol. Because, you know, alcohol, it does provide a little bit of it does burn your taste buds a little bit, which adds a little bit sometimes to the flavour of a beer. Alcohol can bring something to a beer occasionally. But, you know, like lagers, salty snacks, like bar snacks, a lager, awesome. If you want, there's some brown bitters, some dark, like English ales, if you like. As I say, brown ales with hearty foods. Anything that you would pair usually with food is exactly the same. Alcohol-free or normal beer or full-fat beer, as I call it, is no different.
I remember in a lot of your socials, you use quite fancy glasses as well.
Yeah, I've got too many.
I've never really thought of it like that, but looking back now, I do drink a lot of them out of cans, to be honest. And thinking about it, it is definitely better out of a bottle. But I'll definitely, like, moving forward, I'll definitely be using more glasses, and I'll
Well,
get some decent
it does
glasses.
make a
And
difference as well. Like
yeah,
so when you're pouring the beer from one vessel into another, you get that little transfer of like the air hits it and you get that initial aroma. And also you've got a bigger surface area when you drink it from a glass. So when you take it up, first thing you get is a bit of smell. And
yeah,
that does add to the taste of it. You know, smell is a big part of taste. When you take a can up, you get metal. So
yeah,
if you drink a lager and you think, oh, it's a bit metallic, because you took in a big load of can on the nose as you're going up to drink it, you know, it's
yeah,
all those little microtransactions that you make in your brain that actually does make a difference. And when you form that head, when you're pouring it, you're protecting the beer as well. You're protecting its carbonation because that's what the head is there for. That's what you should have, you know, a nice substantial head on a lager. Ideally, that's why German lagers are just so bloody good, because they maintain that head. So yeah, there is, you know, it's a bit, people say it's a bit, you know, it's a bit much and it's a bit extravagant. But
yeah,
at the heart of it, one, it's for ritual and that's important. But two, if you want to get really scientific with it and if you really want to be, you know, invested in this stuff, it does make a difference scientifically to the flavour.
100%, definitely. Yeah, I can visualize it now. I can really, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna after we get off this call in a minute, I'm definitely gonna go and crack one open. Yeah, you've definitely got me thinking
Can
about it.
really harshly pour them as well with alcohol-free beer. Like with a lot
Okay,
of the IPAs, you just crack the can and just fucking put it in the glass because it's not going with full-fat beer. That head will
yeah,
just go. "Rrrr."
yeah.
Alcohol-free beer is not as lively, really, as a whole. So you can really be quite fucking brutal with it when you're giving it a pour, and that's just. I mean, that doesn't benefit anyone. It's just fun.
But it's all part of the ritual, like you said, and you said something really, yeah, that really sticks out for me. It's that self care. It's having a moment for yourself as
Mm-hmm.
well, because you're not drinking like when you're drinking alcohol, you're drinking to get pissed. You're drinking to escape. You're drinking to lose yourself. Especially, it was for me anyway. I know it's not the same for everyone, but when you're drinking alcohol-free stuff, you're really enjoying the taste. You're not doing it to get pissed. You're actually enjoying the ritual, like you said. When we went through a phase, me and my wife, of going out for really, really nice meals, we went to different Michelin star restaurants, and that was when I was just beginning to get sober curious a bit then, I think, as well. And I remember we were going and we were spending hundreds of pounds on these meals, and I was just getting pissed. And I said to my wife, I said, this is really stupid. We're literally eating the best foods and wines or whatever in the world. And I'm drunk. I said, I'm going to start drive. So I started driving to these restaurants. And then I really appreciated all the flavors, the ambience, the whole thing. And I think that ties into exactly what you're saying there, Ben, really.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And also, I'd say to take a kind of different stance on it with sobriety, it's, you know, when you kind of, "Oh, am I a bad person?" And when you're drinking, you couldn't really. It was kind of a, "Oh, yeah, I guess you are," but also, if you weren't drunk, you know, you wouldn't have done that sort of stuff.
Wow.
Whereas now, if I've genuinely pissed someone off, because, you know, it does happen, you can't go through life without upsetting people. There's been times where, you know, at work or wherever, I've done something that's pissed someone off. And I've been able to go, right, yeah, that was on me. And this is how I kind of acted. And right, okay, how do we address this? How do we deal with that situation? What could I have done differently there? Rather than it just being like, oh, yeah, but I was drunk, you know, because 90% of the things that I've done in my life that have hurt people have been because I've been drinking. The other 10% that could have gone into that, oh, yeah, but if I wasn't drinking, then it wouldn't have happened. Actually, no, you had shit to work on, Ben. And, you needed to do that. It gives you that ability to do the work and to really get through all of the, whatever shit you've got going on. Everyone's got stuff going on. Everyone's got baggage that they need to deal with. You can't deal with that stuff when you're just topping it up with booze, when you're just lubricating with booze, because all that's going to come out is that inner child, that screaming toddler. That's what you're going to get. And I think when people say, oh, drunk man's words are a sober man's thoughts, bullshit. Like, I would never have called my friends, like my best friends in my world, a bunch of C-bombs in someone's kitchen. Never. Like, in a million years. But I did. So that's just nonsense. Absolute nonsense, the drunk words are sober man's thoughts argument.
Yeah, it's being responsible, I think. Like you're saying, you can hold yourself accountable, and you can't hide behind that. You can't blame the alcohol. You can't say, I was pissed, so that's my reason for acting like an asshole. You can be truly responsible and hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there any surprise benefits of being sober, Ben?
Oh, surprise. I mean, to be honest, for me, this is going to be quite unique to me, but the surprise benefit has been just the community that I have found in sobriety. And to be honest, I think a lot of people in my little group of alcohol-free beer people would say the same. Like, I've got this big group chat with about 50 of us in there that are just pure beer people. And that chat is going off every single day. And it's like, do you know what? Actually, these are all my mates now.
Yeah.
All of these people, they're not followers on Instagram. They're not like community members. So no, they're mates. They are mates. And I love that is just a group chat. I'm really pleased that I didn't, because, I had a few people saying, oh, you should do like subscription things and like a subscription channel. And it's like, no, let's just have a fucking chat. Let's just have a talk. Like, if people want to support me financially, then they can buy a subscription box of beers or that, but I'm not going to charge you for talking to me. Fucking hell. So that for me has been the biggest surprise, because I didn't think anyone would ever care about what I had to say about matters. But in terms of overall, like a general surprise benefit, I would say I was surprised by how cliche everything became in my life. And I mean that by I got sober, and within 2 years I'd bought a new house, I'd bought a new car, I'd got promoted at work, I'd fully decorated my previous house, and was just in healthy, happy relationships. And it was like, oh shit, okay, it was all true. All that pink cloud bullshit, but I was saying, no, that ain't me. I want to talk about beer. Actually, yeah, my life did get significantly better when I got sober. So that was probably the biggest surprise.
Yeah, when you reflect and look back, you can really
Yeah.
see how alcohol was holding you back. And
Yeah.
I say to people all the time, the time you get back, the energy you get back, the productivity you get back. And yeah, I feel like a teenager again. I'm in my 40s now, and I've got so much energy now. And yeah, it's been transformational for me. It really has. And I know it's a bit of a funny one saying that I'll never drink again, because you never say never, but I really can't see me ever going back to it.
I
No,
think when you kind of know,
yeah,
unless, something terrible happens or something really triggering, which we hope doesn't, obviously. But I do feel like when you stop being somebody that is trying not to drink, and when you're just somebody that doesn't, Once you've crossed that threshold, it's similar to how, I can't tell you the drink that made me an alcoholic.
Mm.
I can't tell you what
Yeah.
drink it was,
Yeah.
but there must have been one of them, you know?
Yeah.
Which one was the one that tipped me over the line? I can't tell you when I became somebody that just didn't drink,
Mm.
but I know I just am now, and I'm fine with that. I've dealt with death, I've dealt with disappointment at work, I've dealt with a lot of things in sobriety, and not once have I actually been tempted, other than that fucking guy that's saying you could if you wanted to. I've not once been actually tempted to
Mm.
drink. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's that identity shift of I remember when we first went away on holiday last year with my friends, and I was the newly sober guy, and I was the person, like you said, who wasn't drinking, and that is who people identified me as, and it was all very strange. But this year we've gone away with the same group of friends again, and my wife said you weren't banging on about sobriety, you weren't being self-righteous, you were just you,
Mhm.
and people weren't labeling you, if you like, just like you said, Ben. And yeah, you sort of shift into that identity, but it's a strange one, isn't it? And you sort of mourn the old you and that, and yeah, but yeah, once you become that person who doesn't want to drink and is rather than the person who is trying not to drink, it's that transition period, and it's going to be different for everyone.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I completely agree.
Any books or resources, Ben, before we wrap up, that have helped you, for anyone that's sober curious, listen to this, please.
Do you know what? I am terrible for reading. Sincerely, I'm so bad. I picked up a load of self-help books early days.
Yeah.
Honestly, have not picked up a single one of them.
Okay, they're not
Which
for
is,
you.
for me, my sort of podcast community, etc., has all been through like social media platforms. So I think Millie Gooch, is incredible. Sober Girl Society, I think what she's doing is really important and really, really special. I think they think it's all sober, doing really good things
Yeah,
with their podcast. What those guys have done is really cool. I've also got to give a shout out to We Recover Loudly, the podcast, because they're really, really important. They do a lot of stuff with hospitality, and hospitality workers. And I think that's a really important side of addiction. So those would be my kind of go-tos. But I think sober Instagram for people that are kind of, our age, because I don't understand TikTok. Like, I'm trying, but my God, I just can't get my head around it. Um, Sober Instagram is just a really wonderful place. And I think you'll find just, I think community, and having that community for me, and I shouldn't say this as someone that has a book out there, but for me, that's more valuable than anything you can read in a book.
yeah, it's having that community, and it's been able to relate to people as well. I
Yeah,
think that's so important. So many people that I've spoke to, because addiction is, when you're in the depth of addiction, is very, you feel so isolated, don't you?
yeah.
It goes from a social thing many, many years ago to a, drinking on your own, escaping,
Mhm.
etc. So when you can find a sober community that's really supportive, and you can start hearing stories, whether that's through podcasts or WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, whatever it might be, and you start hear all those pins start dropping, and you're like, wow, that is me. Wow, there is other people out there like me.
Mhm.
It's it's so comforting, and you can go into those groups and you can be vulnerable, you can share your story, you can start helping other people, and it's a brilliant place for that.
Yeah, and also just seeing these people every day. That people are posting every day, and it's like, oh, there you are. It's like a daily reminder almost. It becomes a bit of a mantra. You check your page, and every day you're seeing these things from other people. I can remember she's called Naomi. She's changed her username so many times, but there's someone that we kind of follow each other on socials, and she's not as active anymore because she got sober at the same time as me. So we both went onto sober Instagram at the same time. So when I was finding people to follow, I was looking at kind of new accounts, and she was one of the first one at the time. Her page was 500 days of sober, because she wanted to do 500 days, and then she did it and became various aliases. She's typical blooming addict. She's changed her mind on what she wants to be known as like so many times. But it was it was really cool. I notice now when we get towards my kind of sobriety anniversary, 5 or 6 people will pop up with theirs, and it's like, I remember you. You were from like the very start. Like you were a year sober, and then I was a year sober. And how cool is that? That you're still just here doing your thing. It's awesome.
What does the next chapter look like for you then, Ben? And where can people connect with you? I'll drop all your socials and a link to your book in the show notes anyway, mate.
Well, thank you very much. I just want to keep on smashing a load of beers, and shouting about them on the internet. For me, I would like to. I'd like to see. I think this year, as an industry, I think 2026 is going to be the year of alcohol-free beer on tap. I think that's what we're going to see a massive uptick in. And then I think the following year, we might start seeing independent craft beer in supermarkets more. So there, the next 2 years for the beer industry, in my opinion, that's what I would like to see. I'm pretty confident on the on tap. Independent beers in supermarkets, I'm less confident in, but we can hope. We can hope. In terms of what I do in that sector, I want to get more kind of hands-on with breweries, with events, with actually taking these beers out into the public and being the person that is there, shoving them into the public's nose and being like, give this a go, see what you think of it. And just continuing to do that, really, and just talk to people every day about beer. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, your passion. That's the reason I wanted to get you on the show today. Your passion really shines through on your socials. You can tell you really, really do love what you're doing. So thank you so much for sharing your story today, Ben, and your wisdom. And I'd personally like to thank you for helping me on my alcohol journey, as I mentioned before. And I know that you've helped so many other people. So on behalf of them as well, mate, thank you so much. And just keep doing what you're doing and shining that light for the alcohol-free industry, Ben.
Jesus, you're going to get me misty-eyed here. Thank you very much. I appreciate. It's been a long time since I've done one of these, so it's been a pleasure, sir. And thank you, and to you as well for everything that you're doing. It's important, man. So keep it up.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ben.
Cheers.